I sat down with Ari Rosenstein of SimilarWeb, and I've asked him to give a webinar to our clients on how you can leverage data to build an online overseas brand building strategy. One of the things I really like about Ariel is he comes first and foremost from a consulting background. He's seen a lot of budget thrown at projects with very little data to back up their strategy. So now with SimilarWeb, what he does is take a look at the data, take a look at the traction, take a look at competitors, and says, hey, here's the best and most efficient use of your budget to get the traction you need in an overseas market. For example, if I'm a rock climbing company and I'm pretty niche, I've never really sold overseas, but I make a really great product. I know a few competitors making suboptimal products, but they're having a lot of success. Where is their traffic coming from? Is it search organic? Is it paid per click? Is it coming from associations and small communities online that I didn't know existed? Should I engage in those communities? If so, do I do it offline, online? Where do I want to go to best penetrate a new market as a totally unknown brand? These are things that Ariel is going to talk about in this webinar.
And then let's talk about, how you can poach traffic. So you have this sort of competitive intelligence using SimilarWeb. What can you do with it? How can you steal data from them? And I want to tell kind of not a personal story, but a professional story, a case study that comes from SimilarWeb. And when I first got here in June of 2014, it took me a little bit to get my feet on the ground and get situated. And then, in July, we started doing sort of competitive analysis. And we said, okay, let's look at all of our competitors and see who's their top driving, who's driving the most traffic to them. And we had a competitor in the U.S. at the time called compete.com, and they were getting a ton of traffic from Income Diary, which is a great blog website that teaches you how to better monetize your website, lots of cool lessons there, and it was driving tons of traffic to them. And we said, hey, we need to take that traffic back. So what do? We made it a point to make sure that our site and our products were visible on Income Diary, and it was a top target for us. And our media buyer and our partnerships manager worked really, really hard to do it, and they did it. And a year later, when we looked at that same website and we did like the head-to-head comparison, we took back a huge chunk of that traffic from our competitor. Not only did we do that, we did that. All of that traffic was very, very worthwhile for us, and we did it, with a minimal sort of investment, but knowing that it was very low risk because it was driving quality traffic to our competitors. The other thing you can do is when you're in the affiliate game, it's very hard, to track affiliates and understand what's going on. But if you start looking at referral traffic, you can start to reveal the affiliates that you never even knew about. So we talk about, the UK again. We look at Currys and Argos, and we can see, what are the top different ad networks sending traffic to them. And we can see that actually Argos has a very aggressive sort of affiliate program working with SkimLeaks and Adform. They're doing, retargeting is for Curry, sorry, and Agency and Radian One. Like, they're very aggressive here, and they're trying to be on as many networks as possible. And here's a very nice example about how you can use like competitive and market intelligence to understand what's going on. So in Israel, both ASOS and Next entered the market, quite recently in the last 2-3 years. And so what do they have to do? First of all, they had to go up against a local competitor. Castro was the biggest local sort of clothing retailer in Israel. They have physical shops, brick and mortar shops, and they sell online. And using SimilarWeb data, either one of these companies were able to say, hey, let's go in and see the top places that Israelis are searching for and getting to Castro, or Israelis are visiting and getting to Castro. And you think here's a language difference, a cultural difference, a distance difference, and they were able to do this. And this is what the situation looks like today. That Next is very aggressive, as is ASOS, and actually Castro has been forced out. And we see, like, the top sites sending traffic to these clothing sites, especially the Israeli ones like the Ynet and the Mako with the local domains, are going straight to Next, which means the Next's brand is more visible online than Castro at the places where the local Israeli market would look. One of the most amazing things about having this sort of data and measuring it through our panel is that we see real human behavior. We see all of these keywords, they're called search terms because it's the actual term that people are searching for in Google and arriving and clicking on that and arriving at a site. So if we look at, the top book dealers in the UK, we look at Waterstones and Barnes & Noble, we can see what are the top books that are driving traffic. So beyond like the Nook, which is Barnes & Noble e-reader, and Waterstone, which is the brand, we see, of course, Game of Thrones is the most popular, but we see, other things too, like the best Stephen King books and the Game of Thrones books order. And these are all very interesting things because here's an opportunity to create content. If people are searching for Game of Thrones books order, that should be a blog post on their website. Here's the order of the Game of Thrones books with a quick summary, and that's a very easy blog post to put out there and get indexed by Google and steal this traffic back. The same thing about best Stephen King books. Put out recommendation lists about best books, be child's books, best new manga. All of these best, if people are looking for these recommendations, if these sites aren't creating that sort of content, they're never going to get this, they're never going to be able to build this sort of organic base of traffic, and they'll never be able to understand what people are actually searching for in the search engines to arrive at bookstores. And then poaching paid traffic. So it's a competitive world out there. You know what you can invest in a keyword. You know how much you're selling, and we can see, okay, what are the top search ads for a competitor? If we were to look at Tesco, for example, and we look at beer. It's summertime. They want to sell more beer. What are their offers? What are they selling? We see here exclusive. So they're Tesco's advertising the fact that they're exclusively selling Amstel. But they also see 1 hour delivery from just £1. So if I'm the marketing manager and say, hey, Tesco's offering not only just £1 delivery but 1 hour delivery, is that something that we can beat? Maybe if we're just offering free delivery, it might mean that you're going to get that click over them and you'll have a more competitive message. So you can start to pull these sort of insights from the search ads for the keywords from the platform. And is your brand where it needs to be? If we start looking at the ad networks, we can see, if we compare this time ASOS and New Look, are they, competing? Criteo is driving the most traffic from these ad networks. Why? Because they're doing a very good job of retargeting. Criteo primarily is doing retargeting, which means that, people put stuff in the basket, they're going to remind them to be there. And is your message that's being put out there on these ad networks being competitive? So if we look at ASOS, we saw that Black Bomber Jacket had a huge increase from April to May, and we see that their ads are, offering real leather. But why not say, bomber jacket or black bomber jacket in the ad too? The other thing that we can see is ASOS is pushing a lot of exclusive stuff. So they want to make sure that you're getting this kind of exclusive content and exclusive clothing from them that can be found nowhere else. They're investing in their own brand through display advertising.
If you have more questions, comments, or alternative solutions, leave a comment below. We're happy to share it with the community.